Daniel 8, verses 12 to 13, it speaks of the daily, the transgression of desolation, the sanctuary, and the host. What do these terms refer to, Pastor Bohr?
Okay, once again, it's a question that is difficult to answer in the time constraints that we have, but let me give it a whirl. The little horn is first spoken of in Daniel 7. And the little horn comes after a sequence of powers there in that chapter. You have Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, the Roman Empire. Then the Roman Empire is divided into 10 kingdoms. And among the 10 kingdoms, which are the divisions of Europe, among the 10 kingdoms rises a little horn and uproots 3 of them, speaks blasphemies against the Most High. He tramples upon God's truth. He thinks that he can change times and laws, and he persecutes God's people. And he does it for times, and the dividing of time. Times, and dividing of time is 3.5 years. But once again, in prophecy, we apply the year-day principle, which means that you have 3.5 years times 360 days per year. That means they have 1,260 days to 3.5 years. That is the period in which the little horn was going to trample upon God's people, speak blasphemies against the Most High. Blasphemy is when a power, an earthly power, claims to be God on earth, and power that would think that he could change even God's times and God law. Now, in Daniel chapter 8, we're dealing once again with the little horn. The same little horn as Daniel chapter 7. But in Daniel 7, the perspective is of political powers that have risen in the course of human history. And in Daniel chapter 8, the context is specifically the sanctuary. Now, what is the sanctuary that's being spoken of in Daniel 8? It certainly is not an earthly sanctuary, because when the little horn ruled, there was no earthly sanctuary. It was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70, and the papacy ruled from 538 to 1798. So there was no earthly sanctuary. The book of Hebrews tells us that Jesus now ministered in the heavenly sanctuary. So we're dealing with the heavenly sanctuary. In some way, the little horn was going to trample on the heavenly sanctuary. He was going to cast the truth of the sanctuary to the ground. He was going to persecute the host. By the way, the host represents God's faithful people. Now, in the book of Revelation, you have an amplification of this. In Revelation chapter 13, and I'm going to read here, verse 5 and verse 6. And the beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, the same as the little horn of Daniel 7 and 8. It was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months, which is the same period as times and dividing of time. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, the same thing that the little horn did in Daniel 7 and 8, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. So what is God's dwelling in heaven? It's the sanctuary. So the beast was going to do what the little horn did. It was going to trample the sanctuary of God. Now, how does the papacy do that? The papacy did that, first of all, by establishing earthly intercessors in place of the lone intercession of Jesus Christ. You know, the priests of the Roman Catholic Church claim that they have the power to forgive sins. Secondly, by implementing a counterfeit sacrifice of Christ. The book of Hebrews says that Jesus was sacrificed once for all. The Roman Catholic papacy teaches that Jesus is sacrificed in every mass. In another point, the Bible says that we have one intercessor between God and men, but the papacy established the priesthood as the intercessors between God and man. In that sense, the papacy trampled the sanctuary of the Most High, or the dwelling place of God, during the 1260 years, 42 months, which is also referred to in Revelation 12 as 1,260 days or years. So basically, Daniel 8 is presenting the same as Daniel 7. However, its emphasis is the sanctuary, what the little horn did to the sanctuary. And in Revelation chapter 13, verses 5 through 7, once again, we find an amplification that this little horn was going to persecute the saints. Let me just read here, Revelation chapter 13 and verse 7. It says, also it was allowed to make war on the saints, that's the host, and to conquer them, and authority was given over every tribe, people, and tongue, and nation. So the trampling of the sanctuary and the host and the abomination of desolation is referring to the counterfeit work of the Roman Catholic papacy during the 1260 years from 538 to 1798.